in last lecture we saw about basic introduction to Python. So here in basic introduction to Python we learnt about what is Python and the career characteristics of Python, career opportunities through Python, and why we are learning Python. So in last lecture we saw about basic introduction to Python and why we are learning Python. So in this lecture we will see Python variables. In every programming we are using variables to store values. So in Python also we are using some variables, and how to we are using variables. So here contents. In this lecture, in this session we will see creating Python variables and printing a variable and deleting a variable, multiple assignment, and valid Python variables and invalid Python variables. So in this session we will see these all, and here first of all we will know what is Python variable and what is a variable. Here Python variables are the reserved memory locations used to store values within a Python program. In every program we have to store values. So here for storing values nothing but say where we have to store. We have to store values in their memory locations. So here variables are the reserved memory locations. So to store values in reserved memory locations we are using variables. So here to store values in every programming we have to store values definitely, because suppose if you have to add two numbers, then suppose if you take two numbers, for example we have to store like this: a is equal to 20. That means 20 is a value which is stored in a is a reserved memory location, and b is equal to 30, and 30 is a value which is stored in reserved memory location b. So here now we have to perform addition. C is equal to a plus b. A plus b is nothing but then what is the values inside a and b? 20 plus 30. Then the addition performs for 20 plus 30 and the resultant is 50, which is stored in C. So it is a C is a another reserved memory location to store result of the addition. So in this way we are using Python variables. Based on the data of a variable, Python interpreter allocates memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. So here we have different types of variables. So integer variable, float variable. So in this way we have different local variables, global variable. We have different types of variables. So here we have two types of variables: local variable, global variable. So in this way we have types of variable. So depends upon the type of variable, Python interpreter allocates memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. So here for allocating memory and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory, and therefore by assigning different data types to Python variables you can store integers, decimals or characters in these variables. We have different data types. Data types are integer, float, character, char, in some other also data types. So here these are some of the examples of data types: integers, decimals, characters. So here depends upon the data type of a variable, Python interpreter allocates memory. It allocates some memory to that and decides what can be stored in the reserved memory. Suppose if you take integer data type, so for integer data type the memory the size is 1 byte or 2 byte. In this way, depend upon the data type, it allocates memory 2 bytes or 3 bytes, 4 bytes. That is depends upon the data type. So here this is about Python variable. Now we will see what is how to create Python variables. So here Python variables do not need explicit declaration to reserve memory space, or you can say to create a variable, and a Python variable is created automatically. So here when you assign a value to it, that means here in addition we have to see. So here in addition, suppose we have to see a is equal to a is equal to 5. So here a is equal to 5. Here we are using is equal to operator. So here we are using is equal to operator. Is equal to, when equal sign is used to assign values to variable. Here equal to sign is used to assign values to variables. So here 5 is assigned to variable a. So here this is a Python variable is created automatically when you assign a value to it, and the equal sign here, when you have to create Python variable, when you have to create a variable, we have to simply use equal sign. Equal sign indicates that the 5 value is stored in a variable. So this is how we have to create Python variables. And the operand to the left of this is equal to, operand is a operand. This is called one operand and this is called one operand. This is the left operand and this is the right operand. So here this left operand is the name of the variable. This is the name of the variable. And this is the name of the variable, and this is the operand to the right of the operator is the value stored. This is the value stored in this variable. So here this is the name, a is the variable and it is the name of the variable, and equal to sign indicates that 5 value is stored in variable a. And here the right side of the equal sign operator is, it is the value that stored in the variable. So now we will see one example. Now then you can easily understand that. Python variables, for example, counter, we have to assign counter is equal to 0. See here counter is a name. Counter is a name, that is a variable name, and 100 is a value that we assign to the counter, and miles is equal to 1000. Here this is the data type. It is a integer variable and it is a floating point variable. And here name is equal to Jara Ali. It is a string variable. It is a string and it is a floating point variable and it is a integer variable. Here these three are counter, miles, name. These three are variable names and these three are values that stored in these variables. 100 is stored in counter variable, and 100, this 1000 is stored in miles variable, and this Jara Ali is stored in name. So for variable names we have to give names, any name, counter, miles, name in your, and you also assign your name also as a variable name. So that is your choice. And here 100 is an integer variable and it have one specific memory, and floating point has some specific memory byte, and creating a string variable. String also have different type of memory. So here these are different types of data that we stored in variables. So in variables we have to store integer data type, integer numbers or floating numbers, or we have to also store strings also. So whenever we have to use strings, then we have to must use apostrophes. Apostrophes at the starting and ending of the name. And here this is a floating number. Floating number is nothing but a decimal numbers. Decimal numbers are called floating numbers. See here 1000.0, it is a decimal number, so it is a floating variable. And 100, it is not a floating number, it is an integer. So this is one example for creating Python variables. So this is how I hope that everyone understand that how to create variables. So this is about creating a variables. Then we will see printing Python variables. Now the task is how to print Python variables. So here in last step we create Python variable. Then now we have to print that variable. So now we will see how we print Python variables. Once we create a Python variable and assign a value to it, we can print it using print function. So following is the extension of previous example and shows how to print different type of variables in Python. So here in last step we we only creating Python variables. We only assign values to the variables. Now the task is we have to print that values. So then the extension of that program is counter now, and the extension of by using to print Python variables, here we are using print function. So for printing Python variables we have to use print. So here the extension of that program is we are assigning three values. 100 is equal to counter, 100 is assigned to counter, 1000 is assigned to miles, and Jara is assigned to name. Now we have to print those. So to print those we have to simply kept print of counter. Here we are using to print 100 value, we are using counter variable name. We don't need to use 100. Print of 100 is wrong usage. So here because 100 is assigned to counter, so here we are using print of counter. Simply then the output is 100. So whenever this instruction performs, this instruction executes, then print of counter 100 will displayed. Then print of miles, whenever print of miles executed, then the output is 1000.0. So here whenever print of miles executed, 1000.0 is displayed on the screen, and print of name is Jara Ali. So in this way Jara Ali. So whenever print of counter is executed, 100 is displayed, and print of miles is executed, 1000.0 is displayed, and print of name is, whenever print of name is executed, Jara Ali is displayed. So here we are using variable names instead of values. Whenever we have to print those variables, then we have to print like this by using print function. Print, and in brackets we have to write variable name. So this is a method how to we print Python variables. So now we will see output. So here this is the output. In for that example, this is the output we already know. So this is the output. So here 100,000 and Jara Ali are the values assigned to counter, miles, and name variables respectively. When running the above program, this is the output result. So here by using print function we have to print variables. I hope that everyone understand that how to print Python variables. Now we will see deleting a variable. Delete a variable. How we delete a variable? In previous steps, first we have to create Python variables, and then we studied that how to print the Python variables. Now the task is we have to how to delete a variable. So delete a variable. You can delete the reference to a number object by using the delete statement. Here simply in last step we are for printing purpose we are using printf function. Print function. So here to delete a variable we will simply use delete statement. So the syntax of delete statement is delete variable 1 or bracket variable 2 bracket comma variable 3 and so on variable n. So this is the delete statement. In this way we have to delete variables. So you can delete a single object or multiple objects by using the delete statement. For example, delete variable A or variable B. So here see in this we have to delete variables separately one by one. So here we have to see, here we are using one variable deletion. Here we are using at a time two variables. So this is the syntax. To delete a variable, use delete keyword and next variable name and otherwise delete and variable A, variable B. So in this way we have to delete multiple objects also. We have to delete single object also by using delete statement, and we have also delete multiple objects by using delete statement by following this structure. So this is how we delete a variable. And multiple assignment. So multiple assignment, how to assign multiple values or multiple variables. Suppose sometimes we have to assign only one value to all variables. So then we see how to assign to all variables as a single value. So Python allows you to assign a single value to several variables simultaneously. We have to assign single value to several variables at a time, which means you can create multiple variables at a time. For example, we see a is equal to b is equal to c is equal to 100. So here a equal to b equal to c equal to 100. Then in the meaning of this instruction is the 100 value is assigned to a and b variable and c variable. So the same value is assigned to these three variables. Now we have to print of a, and here we are using print of a and print of b and print of c. So here in all variables the value stored is 100. So here this produces the following result: 100, 100, 100. Because in every variable we are storing 100 value. So that will be displayed on the output. So here for assigning multiple assignment purpose, this is the way how to we assign how to assign single value to multiple variables. We have to assign single variable to so many variables, not only three variables. If you want to assign single value to 4 or 100 variables, then we can assign also, because here Python allows to assign a single value to several variables. So this is the how we assign multiple assignment in Python variables. Next, Python variable names. So for creating Python variables we have some limitations. We have to follow those rules to create Python variables, because we don't have to create Python variables invalidly. If we have to create Python variable invalid, then it will send error. It will show error, invalid name. So here by using Python variables we have some rules. Then we have to see these rules. Every Python variable should have a unique name like ABC. A variable name can be meaningful. So a variable name must be a meaningful, like color, age, name, etc. So there are certain rules which should be taken care while naming a Python variable. So first of all, those rules to create a Python variable name is: a variable name must start with a letter or the underscore character. So here for creating a Python variable, the first letter of the variable must be a letter. That should not be a digit. That should be a, b, c, counter, anything, but that should not be a start. That should not start with a 1. Suppose if you give 1 2 3, then it is a wrong variable name. The first letter of the variable name must be in a letter. That should be a letter. That should not be a digit, and that should be underscore also. We have to, in characters we have to use underscore. We don't have to use any underscore. We don't have to use other than underscore. So here the first letter should be letter or underscore, either underscore or letter. That should not be a another special characters, and not be a integer, that is not be a number. So this is the first rule to create a Python variable name. And second one is, a variable name cannot start with a number or any special character like a dollar symbol. This is a dollar symbol and star, percentage, so comma. These special character symbols are not. So a variable name cannot start with a number or any special characters. And the third one is, a variable name can only contain alphanumeric characters and underscores. So a variable name can contain only alphanumeric characters and underscores like A to Z, 0 to 9 and underscore. These only we can use as a variable names. In variable names we have to use A to Z and 0 to 9 and underscore. we don't have to use any extra special characters. We have to use only these only. A to Z are 0 to 9. We don't have in special characters. We are using only underscore. That is only available. That is only allowable to create a variable. Otherwise, in special characters we don't have to use any other special character for variable name. So, and fourth one is Python variable names are case sensitive, which means name and name are two different variables in Python. So here Python variables are case sensitive. Here the name, and here we are using capital letters. Here this is the small letters, in here this is the capital letters. So here in Python variables, coming to Python, here the name is a different. This is a different variable name, this is a different variable name, because it is a case sensitive. Here we are using capital letters. This is considered as a different variable name, and this one is a different variable name. Those are not same variable names, because in the first one we are using small letters, in next one we are using capital letters. So this can be considered as two different variable names and not a single name, are two different variables in Python. And the another one is Python reserved keywords cannot be used naming the variable. So in every language we have some reserved keywords like add, sub, and plus symbol. So in Python we have some reserved keywords. So in for naming a variable we don't have to use reserved keywords for naming the variable. So these are the some of the rules to name a variable. And then we see the following are the some of the valid Python variable names. So these are the valid Python variable names. We see first one is counter is equal to 100. So here counter is equal to 100. This is a valid Python variable name, because the first letter is started with letter, and so that's why it is a valid Python variable. And name one is a Python variable. Here see, in this example we are combining both letter and number, but we are not using number at the first letter of the variable name. We have to use number as in middle or last of the letter, last of the name. We don't use letter as the number as the first letter of the variable name. Here we are using number in the last letter as the variable name. So that's why it is a valid Python variable name. And name2 is a valid Python variable name. Age is a Python variable, valid Python variable name. And Jara salary. See, here we are using underscore. Underscore we have to use middle or in last or front. Either we have to use front or we have to use last. So this is a valid Python variable name. And print counter, so we have to print those counter, print of counter, this is a variable name. And print of count, and print of name 1, print of name 2, print age count, and print Jara salary. This will produce the following results. Print of counter means 100, print of underscore count means Jara, underscore count means Jara, this will be printed. And print of name 1, name 1 is Noha, and name 2 is first one, name 1 is Jara. And here see, print of count, this is a invalid, because we didn't assign count this type of variable name. So that's why here the output is doesn't produce. And another one is print age of count is equal to 100. This is an invalid statement. We don't have to use like this. So that's why this output doesn't print in the output. And this output also doesn't print. So these are the invalid names. Here, so whenever print of counter will execute, 100 will execute, 100 will produce in the result, and print of underscore count doesn't produce any result. And print of name 1 Jara, and print of name 2 Noha, and print of age count, this is invalid statement, that's why output doesn't produce in the result. And next print of Jara salary, Print of Zara salary is how much? 10,000. So 10,000. Print of age, whenever you have to print of age, then to 20,100. So this is about how we create Python variable names and how we name variables and some of the rules to create variable names. And this is the valid Python variables names, and now we will see invalid Python variable names. So here I mentioned some of the invalid variables, invalid Python variable names. So those are following are some of the invalid Python variable names. First one is one counter is equal to 100. We already learnt about in rules to create Python variable names. We don't have to use one as a letter, number as a first letter. So here they are used, here I am using first letter as a number. So this is invalid Python variable name. And we don't have to use special characters as a first letter, but here we are using special character as a first letter in the Python variable name. So it is also a invalid Python variable name. And next one is Jara salary is equal to 10,000. Here Jara salary, here we are using line minus symbol. So minus symbol is not allowed in variable name because special other than underscore there is no special character that we use in variable names. So only underscore is allowable to use a variable name. So here it is a wrong valid name. And print of one counter, this is a wrong variable, and so these are the wrong variables. So then how it will print? So these statements are also wrong statements. So this will produce the, whenever we have to execute this program, then we have to see that the following result. File main.p line 3 one counter is equal to 100. Syntax error, invalid syntax, that means it is a invalid syntax. So this is the output that we get after executing these instructions. So this is about invalid Python variable names. So in this session we will see how to create what is a Python variable, what is a variable, and how to create a Python variables, and how to print the Python variables, and how to delete a Python variable, and how to assign single value to multiple variables. And we see that what are the rules to create a Python variable name, and we have to see that for valid Python variables names and invalid Python variables names. So here about so I hope that everyone understand clearly about the Python variables, and if have any doubts regarding Python variables, you can message me in comment section. And if you like this video, you can subscribe my channel to get more videos. Thank you.